After getting selected in the second round by the Packers in 2013, Lacy was not re-signed by the team this offseason. Seattle signed him to a one-year deal worth up to $4.25 million. For this breakdown, I tracked every single one of his carries from his 2016 campaign. I wanted to understand the trends of his performance and figure out how I thought he'd fit in the Seahawks offense. The Packers and Seahawks actually share many similarities. Both teams run a high portion of zone running plays, which make up roughly 2/3 of their called runs. The Packers' main running play is outside zone, but when Lacy was on the field, they ran almost equal inside zone to outside zone. The Seahawks, on the other hand, mainly ran a higher portion of inside zone this season, but they also ran a lot of outside zone depending on their personnel. Additionally, both ran out of shotgun and from singleback a good portion of their carries. Based on scheme fit, I think Lacy is a good pickup. He is a powerful back like he showed here versus the Vikings and runs with good pad level. He's light on his feet and makes quick fluid movements. He's not afraid to run through contact and shows underrated elusiveness in space. Lacy isn't extremely dynamic, but he consistently falls forward and turns out yards running through tackles. He actually caused 26 broken tackles this season. His longest carry was against the Giants on a one-back power, which the Packers occasionally used to overload one side of the formation. After the snap, TJ Lang pulled across the formation to lead block. Richard Rodgers attempted to down block Olivier Vernon, but Vernon threw him out of his path. Keenan Robinson then took on the pulling guard using the squeeze technique or the right shoulder technique in order to collapse the outside running lane. Robinson's squeeze did enough to cause Lacy to slow down and run into his own lineman. Both Vernon and Jonathan Casillas over-pursued, creating a running lane for Lacy to stop and burst through the hole. In the second level, backup safety Andrew Adams completely whiffed on his tackle. Lacy avoided the tackle and gained 15 more yards up the sideline before he was forced out of bounds. In this play, he earned every single one of these yards, showing great downfield vision while finishing the play strongly. His patience in the backfield is actually what set up the run and allowed him to gain extra yards. The Seahawks experimented with power running plays last season, and I can easily see them using this as a change of pace play with Lacy in the backfield. Versus the Cowboys in Week 5, Lacy showed an excellent ability to set up his blocks. Since the defensive tackle pinched through the play side A gap, Lacy juked off of him. Instead of stretching the defense like this play is supposed to be run, his juke created an opening in the second level. One of the main reasons why the linebackers were out of position was due to Anthony Hitchens, who did a weird spin thing to get into the backside cutback lanes. This totally confused Damian Wilson, who might have had a chance to clean up the running play. Additionally, Lacy's light feet and quick cuts forced Sean Lee into a poor position to be blocked by the backside offensive tackle. Last season, the Seahawks had to rely on read option in order to open up running lanes. It was frustrating to watch, especially while Russell Wilson wasn't 100% healthy. The Packers also experimented with read option using the threat of Aaron Rodgers' legs, but I imagine it will play a decent part of Seattle's plans this season though. One of my biggest fears due to the Seahawks' poor blocking unit was that Lacy would have to show the agility and elusiveness to create on his own. Early last season, one thing that I loved about Christine Michael was that he rarely was taken down the backfield for a loss. While Lacy doesn't have the speed or game-breaking ability that other running backs possess, he has shown just like in this play versus the Giants that he can create on his own when his offensive line doesn't give him much. Typically, Lacy gets what his offensive line blocks. Using power and enough creativity, he sometimes can get more though. In my tracking, there were only 3 plays last season where he lost more yards than his offensive line blocked. On these plays and some other plays I tracked, he refused to take the dirty play. What I mean by that is Lacy tried too hard to create and made a poor decision with the football. In a zone scheme, this is crucial to keep the running game on schedule. Now, it didn't happen on every play, but it happened enough to become a noticeable concern. Take his first carry of the season versus the Jaguars. The Packers run outside zone, and Lacy's reads told him to cut inside of the defensive tackle. With both the edge rusher and the defensive tackle gaining outside leverage, he was supposed to cut through the backside A gap. Instead, he attempted to stretch the defense and lost 2 yards on the play. Here's another example versus the Vikings. Lacy squares his shoulders too early and dances behind the line of scrimmage when he should have bullied through the backside A gap. As a pass catcher, he's really only involved on screens and checkdowns. I honestly think his pass catching role will stay limited as the Seahawks have other running backs they can rely on. He's an adequate pass blocker though, so I can see him staying in the backfield in their 6-man protection packages. Overall, I actually really like the signing but it wouldn't be a fair and complete breakdown if I didn't bring up his weight issue. As an NFL player, you simply don't get a weight incentivized contract if the front office doesn't think it's a problem. If anybody tells you otherwise, they are flat out wrong. As of making this video, he's hit his first weigh-in goal and has reportedly gone on P90X to shed the last bit. I'm hopeful he's going to slim down, but I imagine there will be language in all future contracts regarding this issue. While I think Lacy is a good fit for the Seahawks zone running scheme, I thought he was more natural under center than he was lining up in shotgun. However, I think he can still run both effectively, and I can see the Seahawks using him in both formations. Lacy consistently averaged more yards than his offensive line blocked, and I think this will translate well in Seattle. For all my fantasy players, pay close attention to how the Seahawks will use Thomas Rawls and CJ Procise. I think Procise will still get the receiving yards, but Lacy should be in line for first-team running plays on first and second downs. This is especially the case since the Seahawks want to re-establish their hard-nosed running game. I probably wouldn't take him any sooner than the 5th round in your standard 12-team league though. Well, that's it for this video. The next one will be on the Giants NASCAR package using their stud defensive line. This upcoming video was suggested through my Patreon account, so if you want your topic explored, consider donating through that link. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at SamuelRGold for my latest updates.